Hi, Angie here from Crafts at Home. Welcome back to this video series where I'm going to be featuring the art of quilting from Shape Artworks. Hopefully you've completed up to issue 17 and have them stored ironed and flat ready for joining in later issues. With this issue we'll be making the Nelson's Victory block and you'll be receiving the Brighton, Sky Blue Spot and Pink and White Spot fabrics. Before you begin, iron all of your fabric so it's nice and flat. It'll make it easier to work with and improve the overall finish of your quilt. As the blocks are continuing to increase in difficulty, check through the instructions and make sure, like this one, your cutting layouts are correct, and take notice as you need to flip a template over for multiple pieces. Let's start marking and cutting. So as you can see, I've put all my templates. Now the thing you need to remember with this one, the Sky Blue Spot and the Brighton, it's the same template, but for one you need it with the text facing up and for the other you need it for the text facing down, just to make sure you've got your centre points matching with your correct fabrics. So on to the cutting. I'll do this pink and white spot first. So I'll take off that edge. And I'll go down the middle, flip them around and do the long side. The only reason I've done it this way is because this ruler wouldn't go down the long side of all four. So it just means I can still use my small ruler, but I do so safely. Right. So I'm going to go and do the Brighton and the blue and white as well, and I'll see you back here soon. So, if you follow step 1 on page 70, you mark your Brighton fabric and your blue and white spot with your seam lines. So to start with, we're going to do these seams here. So you fold a Brighton onto a blue and white and pin along this short edge. Make sure with this one especially you're careful because you are working on a bias edge and you need to make sure that everything's lined up perfectly. So when you pop it through the sewing machine, it just matches up nicely. So I'll get these done. Find an easier way to make sure that you're sewing on the right edge. Always put your pins at a 90-degree angle from where you're wanting to sew. There's two reasons. One, you know where you're sewing, and two, you can pull them out easily. If you did them at a 45-degree angle, it'll be more difficult and it won't lie the fabric quite as straight as it's going through the sewing machine. See, I've gone off a little bit with that one, so I'm just going to take out and pop back in and pop down. Do the last one, again making sure that all your edges match up and lie nice and flat. and then pop it on the end, and we're done. Right, I'm going to see you over at the sewing machine where we're going to sew these together. So the first thing you need to know about this one is you need to start at the tip. So to start with, I'm going to put that in first, making sure I've got my 6mm seam allowance in, and I'm going to sew as normal onto the first pin. Stop just before it so you can take it out, and then carry on to just before the second pin. Now take that out as well. Now instead of going to the edge, which is what we normally do, you need to go and stop on that 6mm line that runs down this short edge. So I'm going to take it very slowly up to that 6mm edge and then go back 3 stitches, and then I like to go forward 2 more just to secure it completely. So then before you feed the next one in, take your needle up, lift your foot up and drag it through a little bit so you've got a bit of spare thread in between each one. So we go again, put the point in first, go up to the first pin to take that out, and stop, go just before that second pin, and we'll take that out, and again where that line is for the 6mm coming down is where you want to stop. And then back 3 stitches and forward 2. So I'm going to go on and do the others, and I'll see you over at the ironing board in a moment. So I've cut these 2 off, but I've left these 2 together after chain piecing. As you can see, there's quite a long piece in between. So I'm just going to snip that piece off there, and then with these ones, just snip them off closer to where you've sewn to. Because you've backstitched, it won't matter so much because it is all secure. So now on to the insets. So we've got 4 pink with white spots, and on the wrong side I've drawn my 6mm or 1/4 inch seam lines on 2 sides, and that's the side that's going to go into the corner. So it tells me where I need to sew. So I'm going to put those 3 aside for now. If you put them face up, make sure you have that cross there down here, and then we're going to flip over onto the blue because we're going to sew that one on first. So marry up your edges at the top, and then pop a pin in, and then take it down towards the centre and pop another pin in, and then very careful when you fold that back, you can see that where the cross on that pink piece is, is where the seam is on the bottom. So it's a good way to just double check that you've got your piece in position, and you just stab down, then lift up the top piece while keeping the pin in, and you can see it is perfect in that centre seam there. So that is where I'm going to start from. I'm going to do some reinforcement stitches and stitch to the end. So I'll just quickly do the rest to show you again. Again, everything face up. Make sure that your cross of your pencil lines is towards that seam running up, and flip over. Step in, so you've got your top matching, and pin. And then match further down, pop another pin in. And then it's just worth doing the double check on every one, just to make sure that you've got it spot on. If you do find that you're out either way a few millimetres, then you can adjust your pink piece just so it does lie perfectly. Now, as you can see with this one, where I've stabbed through the middle of that cross is actually a good 2 millimetres short. So I'm going to adjust this. I'm going to stab through there, and then I'm going to line up, look to check that my seams match, but they don't quite, so I'm going to bring that down a little bit further. And now you can see that there's a little bit of a step difference there, but as that's the outside seam, it's not going to matter so much. It's more important to get that centre perfect. So I'll take that one out, lie it all down, try it again. And now that is perfect on that centre seam. That's just a quick way of how to fix it if your measurements are perfect at the top and off at the middle. So I'm now going to go and sew these. Remember, you start where the cross is, do about 4 stitches forward, 3 back, and then carry on to the end. And it just secures that centre so your stitches don't come out. I'll see you back here soon. So now we've got the first part of the inset seams sewn on all 4 pieces. We next need to turn them around and set it on the other side. So you want that corner to there. So we just put it down in front of us, put your fingers there, a finger under there, and twist round. So just make sure that it's laying flat, so you might need to jiggle it a bit and then pop a couple of pins in. Just make sure you're not catching any of the blue and all of that stays loose, and if you look, then you have all that. So I'll just lie that down while I do the others. Again, your finger and thumb on there, one finger through and twist through. So it's just a case then of making sure that everything is lying nice and flat, and pop in a couple of pins in. And that's the second one done. Again, it's all nice and open, and make sure you've got everything out of the way. So I'll just do these two. Again, finger in and twist. Find if you don't have your finger in that little bit, that will just fold underneath and it makes it more difficult to get aligned when you're trying to sort it out. I'll show you with the next one what happens. So again, just a couple of pins in, make sure everything's straight and everything is free. So if I was to just take that and take it round, everything gets bunched up and then you have to struggle to get everything free. But if you start with your finger under there and just bring round, it's so much simpler and easier to align it all up. So where we need to sew on these four, you're going off the edge, straight down, and you're stopping where you started last time. So on that cross with the pencil mark that you did on the pink is where you stop. Then you go about 4 stitches back and 3 stitches forward just to reinforce those stitches again. So when you're sewing, just make sure that you've got everything pulled out of the way so you're not catching anything at all as you go down to that seam. I'm going to go and get these 4 seams done, and I will see you back here in a moment. So now we've got 4 pieces that are all sewn together. So we're going to iron them. Now if you do it with the pink towards you and you want to iron the pink flat and then the blue towards the green on every one. There we go, we've got a really nice neat section. And do the rest of them. And just turn them over and give them an iron on the right side as well. That one I've just noticed. an extra bit to open the seam up properly. Just take your time doing these, just so you've got everything lying nice and flat, because you've got fabric here that's going in all directions, so you just want to make sure that everything is nice and tidy, flat and straight. That's the third one done. There we are. Now we'll start to place them as they're going to finish. So the pinks on the outside corners and everything else towards the middle. So you can see it's really starting to come together now. Just taking off some of these loose pieces. So just turn over opposite sides. Now in the middle you've got a nested seam, so it's diagonal to the corner. Just make sure that that matches up really nicely and pop a pin through. And then take it to the outside edge and match up there. If you wanted, you could put another one in the middle. I'm not going to on mine. And then do exactly the same with these ones. So again, you've got a nested seam on your corner there. So just match that up and pop a pin through, making sure you keep your seams flat. And then take it to the outside edge and pin again. So just double check that you've got them pinned the right edges. So that's right. I'm going to run these both through the sewing machine and just go down these little seams, and I'll be back in a moment. So I've gone along these two seams now, and we're just going to press open. Now you want to have it pressed towards the brightened fabric. That will make sure that you've got a nested seam for the centre. So just a quick press to set the seam. The iron open and flat towards the brighten. I'll do the same on this one. So now we've got two halves ready. So the next thing we're going to do is the final centre seam. So you flip that over, as I said, you've got a nested seam now in the centre. So just make sure that that is butted up really nice and sharp. If you need to check, as usual, just pull apart to make sure you're matched. You've also got your centre of your points all coming together at the same place. So what you could do, once you've got your nesting, is put a pin through that junction. So you've got a seam running down here on your blue, and you've got your straight seam there. So if I put it through straight there, if I pick it up, should come through on exactly the same point the other side, which it does, and that will make sure that you've got your points nested and your points are all meeting in the centre. So I'm just going to pin either side of that while I've still got that pinning keeping it in the same place. There we go, pop that one out. I'm going to double check, and that is still matching. So I'm going to pop another pin in each side. If you wanted to, you could put a couple of extra pins. I'm just going to stick with the 4 on this one. So I'm just going to go and sew this final centre seam, and I'll be back in a moment. So now I've gone along that final seam. The first thing I'm going to do before I iron is open it up, double check that I've got my centre seam running perfect with the nested seams, and the points of all 8 pieces are meeting in the middle, and these are absolutely spot on. I couldn't have asked for any better. So the first thing we're going to do is just set the seam and give it a nice press. Then we're going to open and iron it out flat, because you've got a lot of seams running into that centre. It's going to be a bit difficult to go to one side. So just gently tease apart the edges. Make sure you don't burn yourself. Just carefully go with the open toe of the iron. Make sure you don't press any other seams up as you go in. So now I'm going to quickly turn around and do the other side. And there we go. Just make sure that everything else is nicely pressed down, and turn it over and give it an overall press. There we have our Nelson's Victory. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video and the Nelson's Victory block that we've created. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you'll be notified of new videos. Further information about Crafts at Home, the Crafts at Home forum, the art of quilting and Hachette artworks can be found on the social media pages, which are listed in the description. Don't forget to join us next week for issue 19, where we'll be making the fair and square block. Bye for now.